Right, welcome to Football Rants video number 2. This is with Andrew, my friend, well, sometimes, who's a long time Nottingham Forest fan. So I'm going to ask him a few questions and we'll see what he makes of it. He can be an argumentative sod a lot of the time, so we're all good. First question, I think, is what was it like supporting Forest 20 years ago when they were like Premier League, when you were younger?
I mean, it's 20 years, basically 20 years since we were a Premier League side. 98-99 is when we got relegated, so it will be an unhappy anniversary this summer of the last time we actually got up there. I don't think I can remember. Like it's been that long. Do you know, like, it's so difficult because Premier League football now is so different to what it was like then. That I can't actually compute what it would be like now for Forest to be where they were then. I think the thing was, I think it was more fun being a Forest fan then because we went up and down a bit. You always fancied us to have a disaster and then always fancied us to do something exciting as well. So there was a lot of fluctuation. We went up and down. We were a yo-yo club in the 90s, as everyone kept saying. But so it was probably more fun. It was, for me personally, quite an odd time because I started going to Forest when I was very, very young. Like, my first game I was still 4 years old, and so that was 1989. So and throughout pretty much the first half of the 90s, I went with a season ticket with my dad and my sister. Towards the end of the 90s, we could no longer afford a season ticket, so I wasn't going to games. So although it was more fun to be a Forest fan in general, I didn't actually get to see as much football as I do now. So, you know, the swings and roundabouts, I suppose. But it was just, I
mean, I can't imagine watching Match of the Day and seeing Coventry anymore. I mean, obviously it happened with the FA Cup.
Yeah, but that's weird, isn't it? And like on a Saturday when you pick up the paper and it's got the paper I've got does the 11 versus 11 kind of squad looks up. And when we played Arsenal in the Cup, we were there. And I was like, this is weird. I've never seen our team put into one of those. I can't imagine being back there, being in the Premier League. It felt like everything was kind of, probably looking back, we were all a bit naive and thought, oh, this is all exciting, and Sky and Premier League and foreign players coming in, and Forest were becoming a limited company and you could buy shares. I mean,
so yeah. So what's the best Forest could ever do then? Obviously you finished third in the Premier League once.
Did finish third in the Premier League. I mean, I guess the thing is, a lot of people always say, and I was born 20 years too late, essentially, because the best Forest can ever do is win the European Cup and then win it again. And they did it before I was born. So in some respects, we can never do again as well as with our best. But I think, to be honest, all I look at now is I just think it'd be nice to be in the top flight and just be one of those teams that play some nice, attractive, exciting football. They sign some players that you've heard of and you're vaguely interested in watching, that you could care about, and that maybe just has a go at a cup or something. I don't know. It's just weird to think. I don't know how. The Premier League feels a long way away, but to me, just getting to the Premier League, I think, has got to be the long-term aim.
But then I suppose if you asked Leicester fans 5 years ago, what's the
best they never win the Premier League? No. But in some respects, Leicester have ruined it for everybody, haven't they? Because now a West Brom fan under Pulis bobbling along doing a load of nothing would have said, oh well, that's West Brom, that's who we are. Now they're going, well, Leicester have won the league, so come on, get
maybe
your finger
even
out.
the Brighton or Huddersfield. Maybe.
I mean, I saw a Sheffield Wednesday fan at the weekend had written in the Saturday Eye, they do a fan matrix, just one sort of tweet length opinion from each fan. Sheffield Wednesday fan had said, the owners need to get out because they've only got millions and we need billions. And I thought, what are you talking about? You know, what we've only got millions, we need billions. I mean, we probably would need billions for us to be anywhere near the Premier League, but then that's why you just kind of, I don't know, it's a long way away, but I just think that's the long-term aim. But the short-term aim as a Forest fan is to have a fully functioning club, which we haven't had for 5 or so years, where we don't seem to be able to pay bills or all sorts of strange legal things that probably shouldn't mention. But you know, that kind of thing would just be nice to be a club that, because it felt like when I was younger actually that Forest were a club that played decent football, were respected by other fans, and that people would quite like to watch. You know, you're about Match of the Day. I think there's probably one of the reasons why it would be weird on Match. I don't actually watch Match of the Day now because actually I don't really care, and maybe that is snobbery. I'm aware a lot of people think Forest fans are snobs. We probably are. But I don't care about Stoke against West Brom.
No.
I just don't care.
Well, it doesn't feel like anything that's related to the football I watch anymore.
But I do think there will be a generation of fans who, you know, I'm getting to my mid-30s now, there'll be a generation of fans. If you are 18, you don't know Forest is a Premier League club.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I did read a tweet from somebody, a Coventry fan, who went to the match at the weekend, and overheard one young Brighton fan explaining to one young Coventry fan what it's like being in the Premier League.
That's ridiculous.
And it's like, you know, we're founder members of the Premier League.
Exactly.
And it's almost like,
yeah,
it's upsetting almost.
It is a bit upsetting, and it's upsetting to think, and I this is why I fear that there's two sort of checks that we cash on a semi-regular basis, Brian Clough and the Premier League. And when it comes to like signing players or attracting managers or getting investment, everybody remembers we're the club that had Brian Clough, we're the club that got into Europe, and we're the club that were in the Premier League. And I think soon people will just remember us as we're just the club that sacks everybody in the Championship and has a manager every 5 minutes. I think our reputation will start to fade as those memories fade.
Glorious.
And like you said, there are a lot of fans who don't know what being in the Premier League as a Forest fan is like. And that's
shifting away slightly. What would you rather have? Forest being in the Premier League for 5 years, or England winning the World Cup?
Forest Premier League. I mean, I'd rather Forest in the Premier League for 1 year than England win the World Cup. I think just about. Maybe if you're a Premier League fan, and actually, maybe if you're a Leicester fan now,
maybe,
or you've had it. So.
Or I would say maybe a Man United or somebody who has.
Yes.
If I said to them that, you know,
they'd have to be Man United, be relegated.
Two Champions Leagues in a row versus England winning the World Cup. Who knows?
I still think they'd turn it.
I think they pick the Champions League.
You turn up and at ungodly hours in ungodly places in ungodly temperatures to watch an awful lot of dross. And so eventually, to get your tiny little bit of glory, it means a lot more. And I just think the thing is as well, these are players who you become invested in. I mean, most of the time you hate the buggers because they're shanking balls out, missing one-on-ones, getting sent off for stupid challenges. But they're your idiots, if you like. So you support them, and when they do something great, it feels like part of your, it's part of you. And so, you talk about your football club like we, which is silly really, because, I've never been on the pitch and I'm useless. But, so it feels you've got more of a connection than you would have. And I think with England, okay, I think it's weird. Like, if England were in the World Cup final, I'd obviously feel very nervous and very passionate and very excited by it. But in the cold light of day, Forest is just a million times more important to my life than England football.
Okay. What is the bleakest football ground you've been to?
In terms of the occasion, the National Hockey Stadium in Milton Keynes. Because when I say occasion, it wasn't much of an occasion. Gary Megson was in charge. It was the dying days of Gary Megson, which, as you can imagine, weren't much. Were even worse than the glory days, if there were any. And essentially, I think he played a team of 7 or 8 defenders were in the starting 11. I think Wes Morgan might have been left wing back at one point. And it's the hockey stadium. It's not even a football ground. We're on a temporary stand. I think I was in the first row or second row, but I had a direct line of sight straight ahead of me to Gary Megson, and I'd lost it. I was angry.
If you'd had a sniper,
I would have took him out right there. And I think I would have been given the freedom of the city for doing it. I mean, it was dreadful. We were playing terrible football.
Did you win? What was the score?
We lost 1-0. Isel McLeod. And so ex-Derby player, of course. And you just think, what am I doing here? I mean, we've lost. I've seen us lose it in Woking as well, but I mean that was more farcical than bleak, I think. So yeah, National Hockey. Because I mean, let's face it, it's not even Milton Keynes' proper ground. It's just.
What about the coldest?
Coldest I've ever been would have been at Sheffield United, Bramall Lane. I saw a 0-0 there. Went with my dad on the train in the very, very early 90s. And we walked back to the train station, and by the time we walked back to the train station and got on the train, I still couldn't feel my feet. Just absolutely dreadful. I mean, it was terracing behind the ground then as well, so you couldn't really, it's just difficult to kind of get warm. But then the wettest I've ever been would have been at Swindon, where...
Oh, me too. Yeah.
Yeah, we see. A friend of mine, we had a choice between behind the goal or undercover in the stand.
Exposed, yeah.
And it was August. So my friend who was getting the ticket said, "It's August. We are not going to get wet."
Continental. Swindon
And then
in
here
August.
we go. You know, we were there in some sort of ridiculous tsunami. I had a £5 note that was in my wallet, in my coat pocket, which was a waterproof coat, and it was rendered unusable. It was that wet, and I've
God
never
for those
let it.
new plastic notes.
Well, exactly. I've
Yeah.
had those that have been all right. So or contactless. But it was shockingly bad weather. So yeah, wet at Swindon. But yeah.
Worst fans in the league?
It's difficult, isn't it? I mean, there were times when we had some really kind of spiteful games over the years with like Sheffield United.
Well, who hasn't?
And and I think like South Yorkshire clubs in particular, there's a real element of anger between the two sets of clubs for the miners' strike, which was the year I was born. So quite why half of the people I see in their early 20s are singing Scabs, I don't know, because I don't think they know what they're singing about. I mean, I remember going to Sheffield United away in the Cup, and I think we must have lost, but I remember people singing songs about Arthur Scargill, and I had to go home and ask my dad, who's Arthur Scargill? We're singing about Arthur Scargill. Was he an ex-manager or something? I don't know. You know, and there's a real spite and venom, and it's almost a bit of a joke now that you sort of look at your watch. Here we go, minute in, and here come the Scabs chants. And Sheffield, I've had a Sheffield Wednesday fan sort of get right in my face in the car park after a game, shouting Scabs, sort of foaming at the mouth, you know, and you just think, guys, you know,
Are we past that now?
Yeah, well, I mean, I wasn't born. I doubt anybody in the ground that day even worked in the mines, for goodness' sake. So it's just, but you know, I understand it, and that's football, and it's part of the identity of a place, which is why people have that. So I suppose Sheffield United, Wolves I don't particularly like. We had some nasty games with them around the time when they had people like Kevin Muscat and
Always popular.
oh yeah, and Paul Ince. Hate him.
Yeah, I'm a fan of his.
So I don't really like them. I've probably warmed to them a little bit more now. I've worked with a couple of people who've been Wolves fans, and I didn't dislike those people, so it's harder to maintain your animosity.
One of my favourite grounds, more than you. But
Well, we went there at a time when Forest were playing all right. We took the lead, and some idiot started a Mexican wave, and then of course we lost the game. So and then they were doing ironic Mexican waves at us as we were, you know.
what about best ground you've been to that doesn't exist anymore?
Ooh, I've been to a few that don't exist anymore. I'm trying to think what the best one would be. So I've been to
Clearly Highfield Road, but other than that,
actually, I mean, to be fair, Highfield Road.
most people do say.
I did enjoy Highfield Road. I did enjoy Highfield Road. I've been to some good games there, and it was it felt like it was a good atmosphere.
Yeah.
And I missed that kind of ground. I went to Ayrton Park, which was quite fun. We beat Middlesbrough in the cup there in like '93 or something. Went to Leeds Road, which is Huddersfield's old ground.
Wow. Shame these grounds.
Obviously the National Hockey Stadium.
Oh well.
I'll say that again. But
That's such a shame. Yeah.
it's such a shame that's gone. Yeah, I mean Highfield. I don't think there is a better on. Oh, and Highbury. Highbury. I mean, and that's weird because we've had friends who, for a short while, lived in a flat that was because obviously it's now.
It's lovely.
And it's fantastically
great
done.
how they've done it.
I mean, they're in the bottom bit, you know, but up top they've got some incredible like penthouse places.
Yeah.
But you can go into the building through the old like sort of posh entrance, and there's a bust of Herbert Chapman there next to what would I guess is some sort of concierge.
And you see Highfield Road, there's very little to tell you that it was ever. Anyway.
It's a shame.
Wow.
It's nice when they do that because look, if it's going to be turned into housing, why not make it look like what it's come from? I mean, you see these grounds. I mean, I think Scunthorpe's old ground is now a supermarket or something, and you just think, it's a shame, isn't it? It's a Tesco, you know, or something.